Hello and welcome to another episode of The Swing. As always, it's your boy HK, and I'm joined by my co-host, that guy Owais. As every Tuesday and Friday, we come here to break down everything that's going on in the basketball world, all that's hot, all that's not, teams that are on fire, and teams that are struggling. We did a little bit of that this last Tuesday with an amazing guest panel, but now, today, we get to discuss as the NBA takes just a little bit of a break. But for what? All-Star Weekend. Say it with me, All-Star break is here. Sunday, March the 7th, we get a very special All-Star Weekend where literally all the events are happening in one day on a Sunday. To be able to take care of everything that goes on, we'll have the skills competition, we'll have the dunk contest, we'll have the three-point contest, and of course, we will have the creme de la creme of all the talent that is out there in the All-Star pool as they take on each other. Team LeBron versus Team Kevin Durant. Of course, KD's not there, but we had an amazing draft a couple of days ago, which we will speak about later today. And at the same time, we may have another challenge ready to take on both Owais and I, see who comes out on top.
We may have another challenge. We do have a challenge, ladies and gentlemen. You're talking about Team LeBron and Team KD. No. Like Jack Armstrong always says, it's Team Owais versus Team HK. We're going to do a draft, and we're going to find out based off of parameters that, of course, HK came up with. We are going to draft what we would have done in that situation. He's going to be LeBron. I'm going to be KD, and we're going to go from there. And so I'm not getting ice thrown on me again. That's not happening.
So we definitely got to watch that before we do.
You know what? No, we should start with that. I want everybody to know, those that didn't understand, I did lose the last challenge. And so rightfully, like the man I am, man of my word, I did the ice bucket challenge. And let me share with you how that went down. We have about two different versions of this. We have a beautiful normal one, okay? And we have a beautiful slow motion one for you guys. Let's show both. So here we go with the normal one. Can you guys see this? Are you able to see this, Horace?
There you go. I am totally seeing this. I've been waiting to watch this. I actually made sure not to watch it at all.
No, not at all. Well, here you go. Here's your chance. This is your opportunity to finally see it. Wait. You didn't hear what I said. Unless.
I'm ready. But we're doing the ice bucket.
Here you
Ladies
go.
and gentlemen, before we get to this, there's a bunch of ice that I could probably show you, probably see after. But we're doing the ice bucket challenge because I lost to the All-Star picks for the swimming podcast. We do this for you. It is crazy. My mom's going crazy. Siblings going crazy. But here we go.
You can see the little sigh, and you can see how cold it is because it was just dragon's breath. Shout out to Salman. Thanks for doing this, man.
Shout out. I'm sure he's been waiting for this. Ooh, I think got you in there.
I'm fine. I'm good.
He said he's good. He's going to go cry in the corner. I'm pretty sure he has a concussion.
Yeah. Probably. I was like, yo, why does my head hurt so much these days? Something's up. And if you guys want to kind of see the slow motion version of it all, nice and beautiful. Look at these. Look at this form. Just game time for me, man. I felt like I embraced my
look at that. Didn't even react.
Whew. You missed a great, I will say, poor Salman missed a great portion of that. Let's just rewind really quickly. Right there, as you can see.
All going to the side.
All that missed. Shout out to Salman for saving my butt. Look at that. Just look at that.
It was just representative because you got half your picks right. I guess you only eat half the ice. But shout out to Salman for doing that. And good job, Owais, for holding up your end of the bargain, as that challenge was based around the picks. But today, after we go about doing our daily topics, we do have a new challenge, which is going to be based around the All-Star picks that are going to be happening this weekend, plus a draft of our very own to go up against what LeBron and KD did yesterday. Obviously, They had theirs. They went live. It was on TNT. It was a lot of fun. Not necessarily in agreement with the order of some of those picks. So that's why we're here to try and fight back. But before we do that, since we are talking about daily fantasy here, as always, the Swing Podcast is sponsored by Thrive Fantasy. For those who aren't aware, it is a daily fantasy sports props app where every night there are different contests that go on where you get an option of picking between 20 to 25 different options from which you have to pick 10. And it's very simple. You're picking one or the other option of over or under a certain parameter. Do you think LeBron is going to score, say, 28 points on a night? Make sure you pick the over and take those points, because at the end of the night, whoever has the most is going to be walking away with real cash prizes. And as a follower of the Swing, if you deposit with the promo code SWING, SWING, you will get your deposit matched 100% up to $50. And just to show that Thrive Fantasy does work, as you can let you know, our very own Baba's Bites is a part of it, and he has already won some very legitimate cash prizes on here. He won one contest for $500. So just saying, these things are absolutely on. It's so much fun. It's very easy to do. So definitely sign up and prop up today.
Up today. I love $500. I don't know about you. I would love that.
There you go. Well, sign up.
Get on the Thrive.
But on to our topics for today. Of course, the All-Star break is coming up, but before that, we did have two games as far as the Toronto Raptors were concerned, back-to-backs, which actually wasn't supposed to be a back-to-back Owais. We had that COVID protocol delay that pushed the game back a day from the original Tuesday onto the Wednesday, and then after that, because of that, we had Jason Tatum and his boys of the Boston Celtics to go up against on the next day. Again, missing key starters. You're missing Fred, you're missing OG, you're missing Pascal, and you're missing your coaching staff. But just how did those games go, Owais?
I mean, like, how can you expect them to go? The crazy thing is, I look at a few years ago, maybe last year even, where we pretty much didn't have a roster that first half of the season. And yet still, or at least even when Kawhi was there, we had a lot of injury trouble. But the bench was so deep that we were able to beat really tough teams without the help of our star players. Then you move on to a season like this season, that bench / core unit has transitioned more into, our top guys. And when all of them are gone, you're left with pretty much reserves, right? And back in the day, our reserves were very deep, but over and over in this season, we've been shown that our bench is missing one thing, and that is the offensive capability of, consistently scoring. We have not seen consistent scoring outside of maybe a guy like Chris Boucher. True. Everyone else has been very inconsistent, and that really hasn't been much different over the course of those two games. I think the second game was a little bit better than the first game for sure. Yeah. But the first game, you didn't even see defense, which I thought we at least had down with those reserves.
True.
Didn't have that. Didn't have offense. We got a spanking from a team. Ellington scored on us as if he was Steph Curry. Like, come on, get out of here.
Not one, not two, not three, not four, not five, not six, not seven, but 8 threes. LeBron was cheering on for how many Miami championships? That didn't happen, but we let Wayne Ellington go off for a career high 8 threes night. And you know what? This isn't something we haven't seen before. No. Wayne just loves finding ways to destroy the Raptors coming off the curl, and he just does it no matter which team he's on.
Listen, it's not just Wayne Ellington. I have said this over and over again. It's the Toronto Raptors that let really bad shooting teams with really bad shooters get into games, right? I've seen that over and over again. And actually, I felt like there was absolutely no excuse to let a guy like that shoot lights out, and the rotations were horrible. But okay, here's what I say. You don't have your coaching staff to yell at you, so you're accountable yourself. You see, you're not used to playing with those lineups, so you're kind of learning each other at the same time as well. So I can understand that why it was so difficult. Then you go on and you literally, shout out to Norman Powell though, like great work. Like he absolutely tore it up both of those games. Less a little bit on the second game, but because the defensive team was a lot better, right? But overall, let's just take a quick look at what happened, okay? So I am going to pull that up for you guys.
Yeah, and while Owais is doing that, it absolutely was one of those game of two halves, really, or as far as the back-to-back is concerned. It's funny because usually you find that the team really struggles in the second one of a back-to-back.
Oh, yeah.
Here, they had just absolutely no legs about them. And the game started off decently enough where, Kyle Lowry was getting his shots off. He actually had a very decent game going there, which is, what you expect, first of all, from your leader. Secondly, it's just one of those situations where Detroit themselves are not a good defensive team. They were also missing Jeremy Grant, who is, dealing with his injuries as well. And they have no Blake Griffin. So really very little in the way of excuses for allowing this to keep happening again and again and again. And you'll see this throughout the highlights. It was just terrible perimeter defense for a team that shoots 34% from the three-point line for the season to hit 50% of their threes. And on 20 threes, they hit 20 of them for the entire night. And that was the absolute story of this game.
And you can kind of go look at some of those shots. Like, look at this form. Left forward from it, and he's still just draining it. But more importantly, some of those shots that Wayne Ellington had, I swear to God, they just disgusted me because I'm like, those are not good shots, first of all. And he just pulled up from random, 5 hands in his face. It's as if like the basket was 7 feet wider and everything was falling. And I was actually really disappointed in guys like Watanabe and guys like Terrence Davis for not really picking up where they should have. And this was their opportunity. And, one of the parts of the Toronto Raptors identity is next man up, but it just looked confused. Look at this. Look at the way Terrence Davis played defense there. And you could see that Norm and Kyle were busting their butts off and, trying to keep us in the game. But as soon as we got closer and closer, it wasn't looking so good. I mean, credit to those two guys, but everyone else fell short. But now let's talk about that Boston Celtics.
Absolutely. We will get to the Boston game, but one guy I do want to give out a shout out to is that guy right now who's doing that in the middle. Mason Plumlee has had a absolutely breakout season for the Detroit Pistons, for a team that's got him almost as if it was like a throw-in to the deal that got them Jeremy Grant. But Mason Plumlee, who's been pushed into that starting center role, is having the best assist season that he's having. He dropped a triple-double in this game. It was just no one even talking about it. He had 14, 11, and 10 on that game. And it's just his capability to be able to get those passes out of the post, his court vision on the inside, and just, there's people who know how to play within themselves. Mason Plumlee knows what his strengths are, and he knows what his weaknesses are, and he makes sure that he is always in a position of strength anytime he goes into it. And if he doesn't have it, he's smart enough to be able to dish it out. He never forces it. And that's really where this game just kind of blew open, because it was kind of tight up until this like midpoint of the second quarter, where it just completely blew wide open. And then we just were playing catch up from there and eventually lost 129-105.
Yeah, I mean, look at that. But honestly, big credit to him for, distributing the ball really, really well. And actually his physicality showed, like, you can see how weak the Toronto Raptors are inside, even if they have great paint defense, like offensive boards. And again, the matchup is kind of bad for us here because they have a lot of bigs and really athletic bigs that also have a lot of juice in them. So, for a guy like Boucher, the coverage is tough. So, but, Mason Plumlee reminds me a lot of like, a Tice, just a little bit less skill.
That. That's beautiful. That's a
great pass. But I mean, at the end of the day, you're doing this all against a team that pretty much has zero idea what they're doing on the defensive end. So I don't even consider that to be, good for him.
Come on, man.
I'm not giving him the extreme credit for what he did, but he was a bully. I will give you that. He absolutely, if there was a difference maker in this game, apart from Wayne Ellington, it was him, because he was doing everything right on the floor. And wherever, whenever they needed a dirty rebound, or when they needed a great screen, or they needed to put a few buckets, he was there. Look at this, cutting to the basket, perfect timing. But yeah, I guess, mention the Plumlee boys, you know?
Hey, I mean, they're not Plumlee boys anymore. There were 3 of them in the entire league before, but Miles Plumlee is no longer there. Was it Marshall Plumlee? I think was the other one. He's no longer there, but Mason Plumlee has found his niche, and for Detroit, that's been huge. And for a team like Toronto, which has been severely lacking on the inside, I know a guy like Mason Plumlee is quite the solid guy to go up against.
Yeah.
You.
Absolutely.
But yeah, let's go on to the Boston game, because that was, a game where you got your absolute butt handed to you prior. Oftentimes, especially for a team like Toronto, they have a lot of pride, and they've consistently shown that they have that capability to, take that bounce back and put up a much better performance. And on a game where you're up against a much, much better team, a healthier team, and frankly, I would say a more talented team as far as their tops are concerned, you still beat them 3 out of 4 quarters and had what was a much, much better and more consistent performance regardless of the result, which I'm very happy with.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you take a look. So one thing I will always say, and this seems to be an issue with the Raptors, and not just the Raptors, a lot of other teams do this too. I tend to find when we play against top teams, everyone's ready. Everyone's on point, and they understand how big of a game it is for them. And also they like to test themselves out to see how they compare.
True.
Whereas, or they just feel like, we can absolutely beat every best team in this league. So it's a completely different game. But then when we face a team that we think pretty much going to be pushed over, it's a completely different story. I don't see that same intensity. I don't see that same, cleanliness, fire, whatever you want to call it. Like the discipline's not as great either. So, I mean, it's a bit wishy-washy. And credit to Boucher. Boucher had a hell of a game that.
Look, his last 2 games in general, he's been averaging about 18 to 19 points in each one, and then had a 30 bomb in that one, obviously. So it's just been a breakout season for him. Not as much of a breakout season as it has been for another guy who I'm going to go ahead and quickly put up over here. They showed how Norm has gone and reached an absolutely different level over these last 2 years now. Just getting to the point where, look at that, between 2015 to 2019, he was, bench guy through and through, had a couple of solid games here and there. But for him to really take that next step has come not only from a much, much improved 3-point shooting game, which continues to be at now absolutely elite. You see 41.6% over the last 3 years. So it's a long sample size. You can see it in his shot form. And Jack Armstrong talks about it all the time now. Just, there's some guys when they shoot, you just feel like every shot's going to go in. I feel that when people like Steph Curry, when people like Buddy Hield, when, these guys who have just automatic shot forms go up, I'm starting to see a lot of that in Norm. Not to say that he's at that level, but what I'm saying is there's a certain confidence that I feel now every time Norm goes up, and the numbers show it, where he's now got 34 20-point games, 6 30-point games, and is averaging nearly 17 points a game on 50% shooting. So Norm Powell has taken a huge next step as far as his offense is concerned, and the Raptors can only be so excited to have that when we're looking at new pieces. And I see that jersey back there. Should have brought mine as well, but Norm, yeah, big fan.
Shout out to TK. Actually, funny story, guys. I got this jersey when Norm was pretty much in his first year of as a Toronto Raptor. So like no one really knew who Norm was, but I had said something to these guys in our WhatsApp group, like Norman Powell is going to be the future of the Toronto Raptors, and you don't know what's coming. He's going to bring a championship to us. I said this. Go check the Reds.
Get the receipts.
TK, HK's brother, my best friend, got me this Norman Powell jersey before he was even a thing. And have you, now he's an NBA champion. And, we've seen, like I mentioned this in the last podcast as well, Norman Powell is one of those guys that had to absolutely change the way he played his game, right? He was more of a slasher and a guy that didn't really have that IQ that you would want someone to have on a team that's system-based like the Toronto Raptors. But we saw the positives. He was explosive. He had that mentality, and he's also great on defense, right? But now you look at his game, over the years, there's been different iterations of him, and he's finally found his game, his role, and his three-point shooting has been something he's worked immensely hard on. So if it wasn't for that work, you don't see a Norman Powell like this. We saw snippets of what this current version of Norman Powell is last year. The way he was just absolutely balling before the COVID break. He destroyed an Orlando team single-handedly that one game, and he had this streak where he was scoring 25 plus and shooting lights out, and it's no different. And he's fit into the system. I feel he can shoot from the corners effectively. He can create his shot. I've actually even seen him start to do fadeaways, like in the post with his back to the basket, and I was like, okay, this is another addition that he's adding to the already decent arsenal that he has. He cuts to the basket really, really well. So that's smart. He's a smart basketball player, and now he's just become effective, efficient. Like in every case, he's been great. And so credit needs to be given where credit is due. And that guy is one of them. And honestly, if he continues playing the way he is, unfortunately, you can't really consider him to be a sixth man of the year or anything like that. No. But though, if he keeps playing the way he is, man, this guy is going to have a hell of a season. I mean, 20 points a game plus, if we can get that from Norm every single night, and you have all these other guys contributing in some capacity, dude, it's game over. I think Toronto then becomes one of those teams, probably not a championship team, but a team that can literally dismantle some of the bigs, some of the big teams in those, championship caliber situations.
Yeah, and I mean, to me, the next step now in Norm's game is to continue to improve his mid-range one, where we're seeing in that 3 to 10 feet range, he's actually gotten really, really good. He's at shooting about 50% from there. It's that 10 to 16, that in-between game that continues to, currently elude pretty much everyone outside of the elites of the elite. So if you really want to be at that next level, that needs to be another addition to your game, because as we've seen in the playoffs before, when things get tight, that's going to be kind of the region in which you're going to be able to create a little bit of space for yourself and get those buckets. So for Norm, who's actually shooting about 30% from that region for his career, and even worse, 28% for that for the season, it's definitely the area of improvement for me now that his three-point game is absolutely on point.
Right. But I mean, you think about that and you're like, okay, well, does he really need to add that right now? Or is that something like he even needs to add to his arsenal? I don't think so. I think the way that Toronto plays and how they're utilizing him, it works every single time. So
no doubt,
effectively, if anything, like if you want him to be the guy to get those baskets when we need to, like, the last shot of the game, the game winner type of situation, then yeah, of course you want to develop somewhere a shot in the 10 to 15 feet range. But otherwise, like, I don't think that's his role. I don't think I would ever. Who knows?
Again, it's one of those where every player who wants to be great wants to keep working on their weaknesses, right? You're only as strong as your weakest link in the long run in terms of making it. So for me, Norm, who's become, to me, one of our top offensive options now, even when the team is fully healthy, that absolutely needs to be something that is his next thing, because as we see, Pascal's gotten much better on the mid-range. That's continuously better. Kyle has always had that. Fred continues to get better. It's just one of those where even though it's the shot that's the most, archaic in the sense of it's, moved away from the NBA, it's also in a way coming back in situations that matter. So definitely the next spot. That being said, that's Toronto Raptors. That's the NBA. And we get a little bit of a break now until Wednesday when the league comes back. But now we get to pivot. We get to pivot and talk about what is coming up now, which is this Sunday, the NBA All-Star Game, the NBA All-Star Skills Challenge, the NBA three-point contest, which, by the way, is my personal favorite and remains to be. And then finally, we have the dunk contest, where, as we're seeing in previous years, it's become more and more not about the stars. It's about guys who are looking to make a name for themselves, looking to go ahead and get their name in the spotlight. You get the Hamido Diallos of the world of previous years, right? And now he's on OKC doing some pretty solid things off the bench. So these are just ways in which we go about doing it. But we're going to do this in a couple of different ways here, because, as you know, Owais and I love a good challenge. We do want to go ahead and give him the opportunity for, aka just to take another loss, but to give him an opportunity to try and come back from taking the ice bucket on his head. So we are going to have our 4 All-Star challenges that are going to be ongoing. And of course, whoever wins that wins overall. But the tiebreaker of it all is going to come down to the actual NBA All-Star game, where Owais and I are going to do our own draft right here, right now, imagining that I'm LeBron, he's Durant, and we're doing that because I won the last challenge, so I get to take LeBron as the highest vote getter.
Sure.
Yeah. And then we are going to go about, and similar to how those who've played daily fantasy may know, we are going to have a point system attached to these players that are on. And for those who do keep track, how the points system is going to end up working, I'm going to go ahead and put it right on the screen over here. So points is going to be 1, rebound is going to be 1.2, assists are 1.5, steals and blocks become 3, and turnovers are -1. And we're going to put that up all together alongside the draft that we are going to be doing right here, right now.
You get any points? Of course we won't get any points for that, because unfortunately we're not picking the same teams as KD and LeBron, so we can't really get like, oh, which team players won the most. But
that's how we're making this slightly different on here. And like I said, you can see the scoring system on the right. So when everything is said and done, we are going to have that total on there. And again, for those who aren't familiar with that kind of scoring system, it's the same as NBA daily fantasies, any of the daily fantasy different sports groups that are there, whether it be something like FanDuel, whether it be something like DraftKings, any of those, they use a very similar system. So that's what we're going to do here. But Owais, I've got the sheet up here. I've got us ready to go ahead and do our draft. Are you ready to make picks?
Buddy, I was born ready, okay? Let's go. Ready. I am stoked because today you guys are going to see how much smarter of a GM I am than this guy, okay? This is what we're going to do. So, again, you get the first pick, Sir LeBron. So you want to the thing is, you got to introduce that player as if you were actually drafting them. So
no problem.
All right, let's make this fun. Let's go.
Well, first of all, it's actually going to be you that gets the first pick. I just happen to get LeBron James, who is my first pick automatically, being who I am. But LeBron James gets to be on the squad, obviously having an absolutely incredible season, on pace right now to be MVP alongside the other candidate who may potentially be one of my later picks. But LeBron James goes number 1 on my team. Owais, who you got?
Do you know what? Before I even get into that, the crazy thing is that you have to also keep the way that LeBron and KD's teams are, and almost keep that in the back of your head when you're making a team. You can't just be like, oh, Giannis is the greatest guy. What if he doesn't even get the ball? You know? So this is something that you got to think of. However, if I am to go ahead and make my first pick, ladies and gentlemen, I am going to start with my boy from the, what is it called? What do they call themselves in Oakland?
The Bay Area?
The Bay Area, but there's another name anyway. But anyway, I'm going with the 3-point god, Stefan Curry.
All right. Steph Curry with the shot gets to be Oasis' number 1 pick, which of course lets me be on an easier option because I'm definitely had this man going next. The 2-time reigning MVP, the defensive player of the year, the guy who is absolutely going to be a force on both ends of the court and on a game where defense is going to get played and where steals and blocks do count for 3 points. Giannis Antetokounmpo gets to be my number 2 pick on Team Harris, Team HK.
Okay, no problem, baby, no problem. Ladies and gentlemen, with the second pick, Team Owais will choose the man, the myth, the legend from all the way from Cameroon, Joel Embiid.
Woo! Joel Embiid. That was going to be my next pick. So I'm salty about that. But Joel Embiid, who is absolutely having the season of his life, has been in that MVP current ranking, and in fact is the joint favorite with LeBron James, if the odds makers are to be believed. Gets to be Oasis' second pick. So that leaves me with the third pick on my end. And you know what? I'm going to need another guy who does a little bit of everything, a little bit of magic into the system, a little bit of that Luka magic, as he is going to be my third pick, even though Doncic, by many accounts, is having a weaker season than he had in previous years, or previous year, actually. But regardless of that, he has been absolutely on a tear going into the All-Star break. Obviously does a little bit of everything, which is exactly what I want. I want stats stuffing. Luka Doncic comes onto my squad with the third pick.
Luka Magic. All right, well, in that case, if we're going to go with guys that can do a little bit of everything, I'm going to go with Game Series Raptors Kawhi Leonard for my third pick. Ladies and gentlemen, my team already is so scary. It's sad. I feel bad. Look, Joel takes out Antetokounmpo. Kawhi locks down LeBron. And Luka sucks anyway at defense, but he's not guarding Curry even if you tried. Okay, so if this was a real game, 3-on-3, I'd win.
Sure. Regardless of what you may think, in the end, this is going to be all about putting up the numbers. And there are few players that are putting up the kind of numbers as my favorite card in the deck, the wild card, the capability to be able to do anything on any given night. And the guy who is having an absolutely monstrous season, Nikola Jokic, is going to be my fourth pick to get me some size on the inside and also some size on the scoreboard.
Okay, that was a good, I'll give you that. That was a great one. I like how you said that. So with that being said, I need a showman. I need someone to bring the spice to the level. And unfortunately, Spicy P's not there. And so we got to go with Mr. Flat Earth, Mr. Showtime, Mr. All-Star Weekend for me, Mr. Kyrie Irving.
Kyrie Irving, absolutely. As I said, I disagreed with, of the Nets being of the starters, there should have been a second guy who went ahead and got the start there. We'll see later on. But Kyrie has had an absolutely monstrous season. But to round it off over here, with the fifth pick for Team HK, we are going to take the probable scoring champion on the Washington Wizards, the one-man army, on a team that has been on an absolute run. 7-3 of their last 10 games, just being absolutely nasty. Bradley Beal of the Washington Wizards, the shooting guard, the absolute dominant 35 points a game, comes to round out the starting lineup, which means that Owais gets
Jason Tatum. I'm actually glad, because I guarantee you Jason gets me blocks and rebounds. Guaranteed. And those are pretty high-rated points. And so I am excited. I think that just looking at these two teams and the way they're made up, like this is a fun situation. You have two extra bigs. Actually, one more big than I have. But, I mean, my team is just, the wings are beautiful. Kyrie and Steph playing off of each other. Joel just, I'm telling you, man, it's hard. Comment, guys. Let us know what you think of these starters. But anyway, we got to move on to the bench. So it is your turn, and I already know what you're going to say.
I mean,
you were waiting for this. This is the one thing you wanted.
This is the only guy I really want to make sure that I get on the team, because I'm calling it now. He is going to be the All-Star MVP. We've seen Russell Westbrook go ahead and win it in previous years off the bench. But for a guy who is back in the MVP race, exactly where he belongs, who is averaging nearly a triple-double since he's moved on to the Brooklyn Nets, and the guy who was disrespected enough to not be in the starting lineup, James the Beard Harden, makes his way with the first bench pick for Team HK, and I'm already calling it. It's over. Just go home. It's all right.
Just go home. You say that. That's great. I appreciate that. I mean, great pick. Like, James Harden knows how to score. We know this. However, one guy that people are probably not going to expect to have a great all-star game, and I think can do a bit of everything, except for maybe shoot threes. I'm going to go with Ben Simmons as my next pick.
Yee. Really? Ben, eh?
Yeah, man. Listen, this is a different story. We're not looking at who's going to win. We're looking at who's going to get the most of these things.
Okay.
No.
Hey, I can totally drive with that. Ben is having a great season for the Philadelphia 76ers. I don't know whether it's necessarily conducive to an all-star game performance, but we will definitely go ahead and see. But there is someone who is conducive to doing it when the lights are at their absolute brightest. When they say the time is nigh to go ahead and do something big, there's only one man whose time it is, and that one is Dame Time. And Dame Time is going to be my next pick into the all-star lineup. And man, this just keeps getting more and more deadly. Dame Time is in.
Absolutely. And the funny thing is I've seen Dame over the years. I think he's only, how many all-stars has he been in? One or two?
This is his fourth selection, I believe. I'm not
fourth selection? Okay.
Yeah.
But I don't think he's ever performed that great in any game. So I'm okay with you taking him.
Okay. All right.
So with my next pick, I'm going to go with the floor general himself. Ladies and gentlemen, we're going with Chris Paul.
Okay. Solid pick. Obviously, Phoenix Suns, who are on an absolute tear at this moment, are actually leading their division of monsters, the Clippers, the Lakers, but it's the Suns that are currently on top. And you know what? I wouldn't be surprised if they actually end up winning that division just with the level that they've been playing as of late. They can keep that going into the second half of the season, that is. It is going to be absolutely on. Now, this is where I'm going to go ahead and differ a little bit with what we saw in that LeBron and KD draft. I cannot believe that they went ahead and continued to disrespect the best franchise in the first half of the season, the leading team in the West, going 27-8 at this moment. And if there is any animal that I want on my side to just get in there, it's a spider. Because people are afraid of spiders. People don't want to deal with a spider that's running out, and they are not going to want to deal with my boy Donovan Mitchell as he comes in onto Team HK with my next pick. I can't believe he went second last in the other draft. I'm still shocked. Get on here, Donovan, and show them just why they shouldn't be disrespecting you like that.
Listen, there's a reason they didn't pick him, and that's probably because they're not going to pass him the ball.
Oh.
Duh. All right, now we're going to take a look. This is a good one. So I actually am a huge fan of this guy, Mr. Fundy, Mr. Indiana Pacers. I'm going to go with Sabonis.
All right. I'm actually sad about that. It was going to be my next pick. Mr. Do-It-All, Jokic Light, Sabonis, who had to actually come in as an injury replacement, which I can't understand why, but absolutely having a monstrous season for an Indiana Pacers team that's actually looking like it could be even more dangerous in the second half of the season with Karis LeVert potentially coming back. We've gotten that information, miraculous recovery almost with regards to his kidney cancer that was thankfully discovered when the trade went through. But hey, if LeVert comes back, TJ Warren still has no timeline, but hopefully back soon as well. That Pacers team could be very dangerous when it comes to the second half of the season and the playoffs. But going back to the All-Star draft itself, and here is where, again, it's one of those where you got to put aside personal likes, dislikes. You got to really focus on who is going to get hot and who is able to put together runs in a hurry to get you points in a hurry. And we've seen this in previous All-Star games from a guy who hit 7 of them in a row. And that is PG-13.
Damn it.
Is going to be my guy, to join Team HK as this continues to be looking at the quick team list over here. Yeah, I'm feeling pretty good about this so far, Owais.
Do you know what's really funny is that LeBron had the exact same reaction to picking Paul George. He's like, any other day I'd be like, F this guy. But because I need to win, I'm picking Paul George. So that was pretty funny. Okay. With that being said, mate, I'm going to go with my boy, Wet Like I'm Book. Devin Booker. Put that boy on my team, and let's get a closer up in this.
Well, we'll have to see who the actual closers are when it comes down to the teams on the floor. But no doubt Devin Booker has proven himself to be a closer and a half. Game winner after game winner. Bubble Booker was a different beast, and he has continued in that vein on this season as he looks towards his first playoff appearance under himself and Chris Paul. It's going to be awesome.
Can we just take a moment really quickly and just appreciate how much skill is in the league? Like, I'm just like going crazy right now, drafting myself. I'm like, any one of these guys is a dominant force in the NBA. So this is just remarkable.
No, you're absolutely right. And, you know, dominant forces are one of those things that the league is always going to hype. Even if you may not have the most refined of game early on into your career, having that little bit of dominance, that size, that capability to just be able to take over with a little bit of muscle. First all-star appearance for this man. I'm very happy he was able to get in. The Pelicans need to do better, but Zion Williamson is having himself a season, and I am glad to get that size on the inside for Team HK. Get that boy onto my squad.
Yeah, great pick. That was actually going to be my next one. All right. Well, if you're going to take Zion, I'm going to take the Zion stopper, and I'm going to grab myself Rudy Gobert.
Okay. So, hey, looks like we were able to avoid the Utah disrespect that we had in the main one. Rudy Gobert, Defensive Player of the Year candidate, perennial again and again and again, and continues to be absolutely dominant on the inside. Shows just why he is worth the kind of money that he is getting, Shaq, as we get down to the last four picks. And this is where, again, I am able to, now that I have that little bit of extra size on the inside, I've got still Jokic, Giannis to be able to get there. I can now go back to looking at upside again. You know, guys who are not always going to get an opportunity to be here. Guys who aren't always getting the appreciation, and guys who I've finally given a little bit of props to. And I know this one's going to hurt. This one's going to hurt away so I can get in face already. Zach LaVine is coming over to Team HK. There you go.
I knew it was coming.
That's how we do it. See, you got to be that little bit of a snake to take out who is going to be. I knew it. I knew Owais was going for him next.
He's going to have a big one. I actually think he's going to have a huge game. I really do. And I want that for him. I love the way Zach LaVine plays, honestly. But anyway, great pick, man. If you know, I had to choose the next guy, you know, any three of these guys you can add as like kind of like, I don't know, throw-ins to any of the all-star guys. But, you know, just because I know how dominant this guy can be on the defensive end, I am going to go ahead and I'm going to pick Jalen Brown.
Ooh, Jalen Brown. Funny enough, I was hoping you'd take him because that would leave me with the two I actually want to pick. Great for Jalen Brown.
You want Vooch first, right? You're probably going Vooch.
You know me. You know I always respect my boy. So I'm not even going to waste any time with it. Nikola Vucevic is definitely going to be my guy as often. But by the way, we are going to potentially, just so you know, news is coming out that Devin Booker may potentially be out of the All-Star game. So,
they did say Mike Conley might replace him.
Yeah. So if that happens, Mike Conley, I believe, is the one who's getting invited on.
That's so lame. Okay, maybe he gives us assists and 3-pointers. I mean, assists and steals. Who knows?
Well, let's go ahead and see. But with that, we do get to the end of the draft. And of course, we're going to go ahead and post this onto our Instagram page, but definitely let us know, who do you think is going to be taking this? And again, the way the scoring is working is slightly different than what we otherwise may see. And points are worth whatever the points are. So a point for every point, 1.2 for every rebound, 1.5 for an assist, 3 for either a steal or a block, and -1 for a turnover. And then at the end of that, we are going to go ahead and find out just who is going to be the champion between Team HK and Team Owais.
A reminder to the fans that do watch the Swing podcast, remember that this is not based off of the actual points total or the win, whatever the situation. It's based off of this little segment of point systems. Yeah. So if you look at HK's team, you might be like, "Oh my God, this is infinitely better than Owais' team for many reasons." But I will say, name test wise, on paper, his team's better. But in terms of these categories and what's going to help you win if you bet on me, because I bet on myself like Fred VanVleet, you will see me win. I'm confident. And if I lose, hey, I stand by this team. So
you see how Owais is already trying to, get that.
No, I'm reminding them, if there's a poll to go on Instagram, I want them to vote for me because I'm right. Simple.
Well, Owais may or may not be right. We're going to definitely find out Sunday evening, 7 p.m. as the All-Star festivities start. The game goes on and we get to find out. But as we said, what's very special about this specific Sunday is that it's so much different than what we have gotten in previous All-Star weeks, where because of COVID protocols, because of the situation, we are actually having all of the events right on one day itself, which means that the 3-point contest, the dunk contest, and the skills challenge is all going to go about on the same day as well. So as a secondary challenge, we are going to be making picks for those 3 events as well. And I'm going to go ahead and put up who are our contestants for this different challenge over here. So
you're telling me you're trying to lose 2 things in the same day,
or I'm trying to double down on my victory and really crush any and all hope that guy Owais may have. And we're going to start off with the Taco Bell Skills Challenge, in which we have 6 participants. In fact, 6 participants. Yep, and we're seeing them all over here. Again, the skills challenge is one of those where we have often seen, guys win who may not otherwise be expected to. You get bigs coming and pulling it out because in the end, it's often down to who can hit that first 3 and who can hold their nerve. So, Owais, I'm going to give you the opportunity to go ahead and go first.
Thank you.
Yeah, just such a nice guy.
You. I'm going to go with the guy who made the finals last time. I believe he made the finals last time against Jay Tatum. And it's I can't even pronounce Domantas Sabonis. Okay. That's my guy. I really think he's going to pull through this year.
Okay. Yeah, Sabonis is definitely better, especially on the 3-point shot. You're seeing it's getting a lot better this year. It's become a legitimate weapon for him. But when it comes down to the skills challenge, it's about taking the guy who has the most skill, taking the guy who has the handles, the passes, a guy who I may have not liked, again, personally, but just respect the skills that he brings. And that's Chris Paul. Chris Paul is going to be my pick for the Taco Bell Skills Challenge. We'll see. The only one who has no shot so far seems to be that guy Owais, but we'll find out. So you're taking Sabonis. I'm taking Chris Paul. Of course, if someone else happens to win, that just means that no one won that opportunity of it. That's totally fine. We get to move on to the next one. And like I said, my favorite contest always in All-Star Weekend, just because, one, dunk contests are just so hit and miss. You don't know who happens to go off. We don't always get the dunks that wow us. But the 3-point contest is something where we just get to appreciate the amazing skill of all 7 of these guys. And since you went first pick on that one, I'll go first.
Yeah, absolutely. Go for it.
Yeah. And while there may be an obvious pick, and I would probably go with that, I'm actually going to go ahead and double down on the fact that I believe this is the Jazz's year in terms of making that run, getting their name out there, and really stamping themselves on this All-Star weekend. So I'm going with Spida, Donovan Mitchell, to go ahead and win that 3-point contest. Owais, who you got?
It's a no-brainer, man. Like, experience. He's won a few times already. Steph Curry, come on. It's like, you know what? The thing is, I can tell you two guys that won't win, and they're both from Boston, and that's just a sad reality. But if there was to be a backup pick between any of these guys, I would definitely go with Devin Booker. He's shown in the 3-point contest that he's elite as well. So even if I'm going with Steph Curry and I'm confident with that, like I will say, keep your eyes out for Dev Book to have a big 3-point contest. And also Zach LaVine. He is elite from 3. Don't forget that. Although I think much like Kyle Lowry, he's more of a creator type of guy, not like a stand there and shoot. So I don't see him getting too far, but if he does and he's hot and he's in rhythm, I know, anyone.
Exactly. And that's what we've seen in previous years, where it's just about getting into that rhythm. And while oftentimes, as you say, the cream rises to the top, Steph Curry, the greatest shooter of all time, I just feel like this night is not going to be his night. It's going to be Donovan's night, but we'll find out. And then finally, we are getting to what would actually potentially be the sleeper event of the night.
I'm getting sleepy.
I know Owais is already yawning over here, but as I said, even though it's not star-studded, oftentimes you find with these guys who aren't necessarily the biggest names, aren't necessarily the ones who are getting all the headlines, they're the ones who are really out there to make their name, to really get themselves known. And what better way to do that than to just wow the audience when it comes to the dunk contest? And it's funny, we talk about Zach LaVine now. Zach LaVine started off purely as a dunker and purely got his recognition off of his incredible dunk contest performances. So could we be seeing another guy here? And that guy, Owais, I'm going to go ahead and let you make the first pick on this one.
Thank you, man. Well, I don't care, but what I will say is because he has a really cool first name, reminds me of another great who had to change his name though. And also because, what's the other reason that I had? This reminds me of a time where there was like guys that no one really knew in the NBA, and they came to the dunk contest. And I think this guy won, and his name was Fred Jones. And I think he used to play for the Toronto Raptors. And I think this is kind of similar to that dunk contest. And we're going to see Cassius Stanley end up winning this dunk contest. And that's my pick. So we already know who you're going with.
I mean, yeah, as a good pizza is only as good as its toppings.
Ooh!
A good dunk contest is only as good as the fixins you're able to go ahead and put on it. So with that in mind, and with the fact that New York is making a comeback this year, as far as their recognition is concerned, as far as their relevancy is concerned, and as far as really trying to hype themselves up, they are coming into the All-Star game with guys for the first time in a couple of years now. You got Julius Randle in his first All-Star game, and Obi Toppin, who hasn't got his opportunity fully as far as the Knicks playing time is concerned, just because they do have a solid rotation and they do have a lot currently ahead of him. But if you've watched those games, this boy's got hops. He has gone ahead and put up a number of highlight dunks already. So I'm going to go ahead and take Obi Toppin as my flyer pick, because I believe he's going to fly.
Hey, man, I absolutely love the way you put that. No pizza's good without its topping, baby. I love that. And if anything, this is going to be me the whole time. On your head top. So, I mean, it's going to be exciting. We're really, really excited for All-Star Weekend. Last year, easily one of the most exciting All-Star games. And if the players finally recognize that that's what we want and that's what they want, hey, man, this could be another classic. And I really would love to see another classic.
Absolutely. And look, remember that All-Star game was literally right before we got all those COVID protocols, everything else that ended up derailing the rest of that season. So in many ways, this is a full circle coming back around now. We're dealing with that reality, but it doesn't take away from the fact that there are players out there looking to prove themselves, looking to get their name out in lights for the work that they've been doing and to get recognized as far as legacy is concerned for their inaugural All-Star picks for a number of them. But with that in mind, we have all of our picks in tow. We're going to be posting them on our Instagram page. So definitely get back on with us, engage with us. Let us know, who do you think is going to win? Who is going to be the All-Star MVP? Who is going to be winning any of these 3 different challenges? And of course, most importantly, who's going to win the challenge between that guy Owais and HK as we go into what should be an absolutely fun All-Star Sunday. Owais, what you got?
Listen, man, I just want everybody to remind everybody, stay safe, but absolutely tune in to All-Star Weekend. Let's comment. Let's come back Tuesday with that same energy. We'll kind of talk about what happened in the All-Star game. I want to hear what everybody thought. It's an experience for everyone, and each person's experience is subjective. And I just want to know, whose dunk did you enjoy the most? Who did you think was going to win? Who is
D-Wade going to give a 9?
Who did you not expect to perform that well in the All-Star game? So many things to talk about. We're excited. Ladies and gentlemen, that's it from me. That's it from HK. Roll it out, baby.
There we go. We're going to see you on Tuesday, and we'll be back live on Sports Trends with The Swing.